Hello Jeep family. Today we are showcasing personal build of mine, a 1985 CJ-7 I built for my wife. It's heard of a labor of love. Well, this is show my love for her. We started with a $200 pile of parts and built this over the course of about 11 years from scratch. Growing up, I kind of did hot rods with my dad, and we'd find a part from this one, a part from that car, put it together and make a vehicle out of it. And I kind of put that mold onto a Jeep. And knowing that she was going to drive it, I wanted it to have some niceties of a newer car: fuel injection, four-wheel disc brakes, shift on the fly four-wheel drive, those kind of scenarios, but having the wrapper of a vintage Jeep. So started off with a bare, clean CJ-7 frame. I actually chose to go with a 2.5-inch lift spring on it, and then that's where things got a little bit different than the most. It has a front and rear axle out of a 97 Jeep Cherokee. Stock pretty much on the front, still running 355 gears. The rear, I kind of did a special thing where I found some Liberty disc brakes and switched them over to the 8.25 for the Cherokee. So that allows me to have four-wheel disc. Engine is a 95 Jeep Grand Cherokee 4-liter with a 95 YJ AX15 transmission. Behind that is the transfer case that came out of the same XJ that these axles came out of. And a fun story, that was a pet project of Neil's before he deemed that one going down the road. So a part of that Jeep lives on with this one. The transfer case has a super short or mega short SYE on it with a cut down Cherokee front shaft in the rear of the Jeep. The front, we're running a stock YJ front drive shaft. It has amazed me taking this to shows that most die-hard CJ guys love it, and they'd never catch the fact it doesn't have a lockout and it's got a small bolt pattern of the newer Jeeps, a 5x4.5. Kind of letting the cat out of the bag now, but it's just something I've always been amazed with. So it has a high pinion 30 front axle in it on leaf springs. I actually cut all the coil buckets and all that stuff off of it, and where the pumpkin resides is very, very close to the leaf spring on the other side. And honest to God, the easiest part of that was mounting it to the leaves, and then doing the steering and everything. That involved quite a bit of work. We had to do what's called a tie rod flip kit to the top, and we're actually running a hybrid YJ/XJ aftermarket kit to get all the tie rods in the right spot, along with some WJ tie rods and custom tubes thrown in for good measure. After a while, it kind of became a game to see if we could get as many parts from models of Jeep on here as we could. As you can see, we already had quite the lineage going on. So we went ahead and used JK stock headlights. It has a TJ drop pitman or stock pitman arm used as a drop arm on this one. Steering on this thing is completely flat at ride height, so it goes down the road, freeway speeds, really comfortable, really smooth. We're running a 32 11.5 15 tire. These were actually on another pet project of mine that was building about the same time as this. That one went on down the road, and we saved them for this. Eventually it'll go up to a 33. I've been picked on quite a lot about 32s, so at this point it's kind of a running joke around the shop. Up front we got the legendary Warren 8274 winch. That's actually a 1989 model. Right now it's just put on there. We need to take it off, completely rebuild it. And the long-term plan is a new solenoid pack and synthetic line, but I just haven't got that far yet. I got stock CJ front bumper on it. The Warren mount, you can actually still buy that. And you see we have year plates on this. That's something Ohio allows you to do. As long as it's the year of the vehicle, you are allowed to run that when you run historical license plates. So moving into the inside of the Jeep, we have our best top high back buckets. These are something you can buy, very comfortable, really hold up the weather well. And we actually have a stock black CJ rear seat that's fold and tumble, which is pretty desired piece. Inside we have a factory AM FM radio, still works, and we have our Speed Hut GPS speedometer and gauges that we've showcased before on that CJ-5 build. I have a 92, I believe, Neil could correct me, but later YJ's had a family bar. I got two little ones, so utilize that with a black cover, let them have some coverage, and this is actually a YJ bikini top. We're running a YJ windshield frame that I modified to work with the CJ defroster ducts and heater, which allows me to have the bigger transmissions and bigger, better wiper motor for a YJ on a CJ. The heater is also on this a hybrid of the two. It's pieces of a YJ box and a CJ box put together. The reason I did that is the complete wiring harness in this front to back is out of a 95 YJ. So that allows me to have a dimmer switch on the column, factory YJ blower motor plugged right in, and it runs the fuel injection on the 4-liter just fine. Factory CJ flares. I think these were actually a new old stock set that we had gotten out of one of our early crawling days. And another cool thing with these, we have flip forward on passenger and drivers, which was an option on CJs that you don't find very often. Has a factory black YJ carpet kit in it. Another cool part that we have in here is this is a JB Conversions cable shifter for the 4-wheel drive, and the kind of do the hot rod thing, I moved it to the passenger side, just kind of make it look correct, but the cable loops around and goes to the driver's side of the 231 because it has a driver's drop front axle. It has again a hybrid steering column in it. That is something, it's one of the services I do at the shop and I've been doing for a long time, is taking columns down to nothing and rebuilding them back up. So the bottom half is CJ / full-size Jeep style, so it plugs into the CJ steering shaft and box, while the top part is all YJ. So I'm allowed to have the newer turn signal switch, smart switch they call it, where you actually have your wiper control and all that stuff right on the column. Just makes it a little nice. Lets me to have delay wipers and everything just as a 95 YJ would have had. Running into the back, got a stock tire carrier. I modified it for her old school long whip. And another thing that's sort of part of the conversion I did, this actually is a dummy fuel filler, doesn't do anything. Over on this side, behind the year license plate, is a YJ filler. That's because I'm running a 87 through 90 4-cylinder YJ gas tank with a 4-cylinder fuel sending unit with a 4-liter pump swapped in. Those high in Jeep knowledge will know that 87 through 90 4-cylinder YJs had a TBI fuel injection while the 6 cylinders were carbureted. And that allowed me to have an in-tank pump on the cheap for this. I'm running the stock stainless steel fuel lines for a 95 YJ that I just put some bends in to follow the CJ frame. Actually worked out really well. Got an aftermarket rear bumper on it with tow points. We're running a 15-gallon skid and gas tank. It's got a custom exhaust that I made up out of parts for myself. I adapted the tire carrier so that it'll actually receive the smaller bolt pattern, because originally that would have been for 5 on 5.5. So up underneath the body we have a Daystar 1-inch overstock body mount kit. It's something we use as a rule on any Jeep that we do a frame off at the shop. This Jeep kind of started that pattern. proof of concept. Just makes it work so much nicer. A little bit more clearance for things, get you a little bit of extra height. So overall, this is about 3.5, 4 inches of lift overall with shackles, springs, and body mounts. Because I am running the YJ frame that I mentioned earlier, you'll see I have the YJ bars up to the windshield as well. Again, it's my wife and family riding in this, so even these aren't great for protection. I want as much as I can get. So we got the 3-point seat belts front and back, again, for that little bit of safety. The body on this Jeep, when I first got it, was shot, like really, really bad. Lots of people would have just left this one to rot. So it is actually a YJ body that I converted over to CJ spec and then bolted it to the factory CJ frame. That allowed me to get away with some other easier things, obviously the fuel filler and that kind of stuff. Pedals and that are actually YJ pedals, again, allowed me to have a hydraulic clutch, plug and play with the X15, just worked out really nice. So we go up here, walk around, and we'll show you underneath the hood. So underneath the hood, we have that 9540 out of a ZJ. We got a TJ air box and air tube. We have a 95 YJ double booster and master cylinder as a 1-year only option on a YJ. Running a YJ battery box, which allows me to put the PDC relay center in. We're running a Champion CJ HD, which almost all later models CJ's had, radiator, which plugs into the 4-liter just fine. We're in a stock ZJ clutch fan. And we cleaned everything up. Intake's powder coated, power steering pump brackets powder coated, blocks all cleaned and painted. Me and the wife, we put main bearing and rod bearings in. Other than that, it was in really good shape. It's got a brand new clutch. This is basically everything you would do to something that you're putting in for a long haul, and again, putting your family in and wanting to enjoy it. We've had it on the road now about 4 or 5 years. Really doing good. Pretty proud of it. And it's very comfortable. Kind of best of both worlds. Old looking on the outside, but comfortable and new underneath. All right, Jeep family. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell so you can get notified with other builds cool like this one. And down in the comment section, make sure you post up what your favorite modification I did to this Jeep is, or the one you think is going to stress out the purist the most. Jeep on, Jeep family.